Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. I'm also recording this on video because eventually this will get uploaded to YouTube. And if you're watching the video, you'll see I'm like super cozy. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. And today I want to talk about the big fat white elephant in the room. I don't know if the elephant's white, but it might as well be. We'll call it a white elephant. What are we doing about Facebook? So people, rightfully so, are a little big mad about Facebook these days. So a little backstory here. Meta recently decided to remove its third-party fact-checking system. And to some people, especially socially conscious business owners, which I hope a lot of you are, some of you may not be, and that's totally fine too. They're also loosening content moderation policies and Google searches on how to delete Facebook and Instagram and Threads, according to TechCrunch, are on the rise. Not surprisingly, I have seen this mentioned in a bunch of groups, and not just Facebook, but like the whole Meta suite. Like, how are we as business owners thinking about how these platforms, we're going to say these platforms, not just a platform, fit into our marketing strategy when maybe they don't necessarily align with our values? And this kind of goes back to what I've said all along, that social media has rented space, and we're seeing that very much so with all of these creators basically losing their livelihoods because TikTok is shutting down. Now, backstory, I'm recording this before the 19th. So, yeah, as of today, we still don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. As of today, we understand that it will be banned because the Biden administration is kind of punting to the Trump administration, which... what do we think about that, friends? What do we think about that? I don't even know. But, let's call a spade and say that Meta has been a dumpster fire for businesses in terms of reaching their audiences, the hard-earned audiences, might I add. Like, if you have upwards of, say, 1,000 or more followers, you are lucky if 100 of those see your post, unless it's getting gangbusters engagement. But like, the Facebook algorithm has repeatedly, notoriously been a dumpster fire for business pages, unless you're paying to play, unless you're investing money into your Facebook ads. We know that Facebook is just not really a fun place to be in right now. And a lot of people are accusing Mark Zuckerberg of sucking up to the Trump administration because, we're kind of in an oligarchy now. The people with the most money at the top are sucking up to Donald Trump, and they think that with their influence, they can buy their way into helping make the rules that are beneficial to them. That's kind of the definition of oligarchy, kind of a little fast and loose there. But we're seeing that with, Elon Musk kind of coming in and remaking the federal workforce. Like, dude, you're going to have a really hard time cutting all that money from the federal government's budget. I'm just saying, I have friends who work for the feds, and you're going to make a lot of people big mad. But you know what? That's okay, because this is the last I'm going to be political here, because this is not a political podcast, and I respect that everyone has different views. But, as a student of political science who spent multiple years of my life working in politics and being in the political sphere and studying it, elections have consequences. And no matter what side of the aisle that you're on, like, people aren't going to like what's happening, and elections have consequences. And I feel like we're going to see that a lot over the next couple of years. So we're just going to leave it there. But that also means that we have to be more mindful about how we are owning our marketing. Because, as I said, the shutdown with TikTok is a solid reminder that we don't own social media. It is not ours, And I've said this before. I've actually sent out emails about this, when we have those rare Meta shutdowns, and people are like, oh no, I can't market my business today. Well, actually, you can. Actually, you can. Like, if you're just relying on Instagram or Facebook to market your business, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. And what was I doing? I was thinking about something today. And mind you, I am recording this on a Saturday. So I was out this morning on a nature walk with a former client of mine who hosted something up at Patapsco Valley State Park. And it was absolutely lovely. It was kind of what I needed. And I really, really loved that it was an opportunity to slow down. And I got to thinking about how, and this is coming off of a retreat that I was at late this earlier week. And, this is going live at the end of the month. But I was thinking about connections. And, one of the things that I've always loved about social media is the community aspect of it. But if you're kind of in the same boat as me and this is our reality, how are we not just connecting with people online and being more mindful about maybe our internet usage, but also how are we going back to old fashioned connections? And I was thinking about, a bunch of people that were at this retreat with me were talking about their goals for this year, visibility. And whether that's through YouTube, whether that's through growing their podcast or their social media, growing social media engagement, I kind of got to thinking this morning when I was walking about how are we also growing those in-person connections? And, what's going on with people's opinions about Facebook and their content moderation changes and all that fun stuff and the shutdown of TikTok. And here's my point about the podcast episode is how else are we marketing ourselves? And one of those ways is assuming that you have a local business, assuming that you're not just an online business provider, online coach, whatever. Even if you can work with people anywhere, like start local, build those in-person connections. Just this morning, there was someone in a local Facebook group who was looking for like a content creator or a social media manager. I don't think she really knows what she's looking for, but hopefully they're going to set up a call with me, which I'm really excited to have. And I was so delighted to see so many friends of mine that I've built connections with over the past couple of years. And not all of them are clients. Some of them are friends. Some of them are just people who have worked with me or come to my workshops. And they all put my name out there. So there is something to be said about building those in-person connections in the wake of, whatever dumpster fire the social media industry is going through right now. Whatever your thoughts and feelings are, like there is going to be, I believe deeply in my heart and soul that there is going to be a shift in how we utilize social media personally and professionally over the next 1 to 2 to 3 years. And I think we're living in it. And I don't think I was telling a client of mine, we were talking about her analytics and things were down a little bit last month. Some of the things had kind of stayed the same. We have to be able to adjust to how we use social media and think about how our audience is also using social media. And it's not necessarily a bad thing if things are down a little bit, especially, a lot of my clients do their own engagement. And if you're less engaged, then your audience is going to be a little less engaged with your content, even if you keep posting the same. That's just a fact. So being mindful about how we're using social media and how our audience, if you know your ideal customer avatar, if you know who your ideal audience is, then you know how they're using social media and you have to adapt your business to accompany that. So when we're thinking about our marketing strategies, how are we making those connections in person? Because that's a great way to build up word of mouth referrals. How are we finding those other communities? And they could be online communities. Like I'm a part of a great online community that we're all a bunch of social media managers, virtual assistants, all that kind of fun stuff. And we're always talking about our wins, but I am building my network. So like if I was in another Facebook group, say, and someone in New Jersey was looking for a content creator, yeah, I could refer myself. I could be like, hey, I do it. I'm located in Maryland, blah, blah, blah. But if I know someone local, because I really believe in the power of those local connections, at least for me, I love, love, love working with my local clients. It gives me that hands-onness. There is something about that is really, really powerful when you have those relationships with your clients. So think about how you are making those connections. Another way is think about your owned marketing. And when I say owned, I mean content that you own. I mean your website. Like, are you investing in long form SEO content? Because if not, you should be. I mean, we don't know what's going on with Google in the way that we know what's kind of happening with TikTok and all those things. But no one's going to shut down your website. No one's going to take away your blog posts. Even if Google goes away, there are other search engines that you can be found on, you know? There are other alternatives. So think about that. And also think about your email list. Do you have one? If you don't, start with your customers. I had a client many years ago, and we did an opt-in email from her for her first email. And what we had done is we downloaded her contacts from LinkedIn. Yes, you can do that. If you want to know how, let me know. I can show you. And we sent them an email saying, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm starting a new venture. We're doing this. I'd love to have you on my email list. Click here to opt in. And I think we had like an 80 or 90% opt-in rate. Like we had a pretty decent opt-in rate. So even if you get a 50% opt-in rate, if you have 1,000 connections, like you're starting your email list with 500 people. That's amazing. So that's always an option also. I'm leaning into email marketing this year because email marketing, we know historically garners better results, better ROI. There is no reason to not be email marketing, my friends. No reason. So if you are interested in email marketing, we do. I'm really excited. I love my clients that I do email marketing for. So normally like I just do email marketing for current clients, but as like social media add-on. But I think this year I'm going to do some newsletter add-ons. I'm going to take a limited number of clients who are interested in growing their email list, or even just like, hey, I have an email list and I haven't done jack squat with it for the past 5 years. Can you help me reinvigorate my email list? Absolutely, I would love to. Because I think that we need to lean into other marketing channels this year. I think we need to stop relying so much on social media. And not that social media is going away, it's not. But I think a lot of business owners just put too much stock into it and they rely on it too heavily. And for something that you don't own and you don't control when people see your content, like that's a really bad marketing strategy. And I've always said that social media is not your entire marketing strategy. If it is, like you have a problem. You are missing opportunities. So, I think considering the other channels that you can market your business on and looking at opportunities to really grow those and invest in those, I think a lot of people are leaning into YouTube now, especially for long form video content. If you're all in on video content, absolutely 100%, please go do that. I myself am like researching it more because I know that there's more that I can do on YouTube. And I think it's a huge opportunity, especially for those of us with podcasts. Like, why are you not on YouTube? I don't know. So, yeah, I think in the wake of all of this kind of, I don't want to call it turmoil because it's not necessarily turmoil. I mean, it's certainly turmoil if you have a business who does really well on TikTok and now you have to shift. I hope you've been like planning that shift for many months now. A lot of creators that I follow have leaned into YouTube. They've leaned into Instagram. But Instagram, as we know, for those of you who are active on TikTok, you know that Instagram is not at all the same as TikTok. And, I've read friends who have done a lot of TikTok content and have decent followings of a couple thousand people, certainly not like the 50,000 that are going to get you into the Creators Fund, but they are devastated because TikTok, to a lot of us, less so me. I find it interesting that I didn't really find my community on TikTok. Maybe it's just because I'm not all in, or maybe it's just because I'm an introvert and I have a hard time making those kind of connections, especially online. But the people who love TikTok have those communities. The communities have changed their lives. The connections have changed their lives, which I think is pretty incredible. And that right there, and I said this in my introduction at this retreat, is kind of why I love social media. It builds communities. when I started my business, I looked for every community that I could, and I found one. And now, like, that was part of the retreat that I was on earlier this week. And when you find that community that people just accept you for who you are and what you do and really are like your cheerleaders, like that's a really, really powerful thing. And a lot of people find that on social media. And there's a special power in that. And I think back to like when I was a youngin', 20 plus years ago, when I was a sprightly, 18-year-old and I found LiveJournal, I found community on LiveJournal. I made real friends. I made friends who were lifelong friends who I thought were lifelong friends and turned out not to be lifelong friends. But it also changed my life, like LiveJournal did at the time. It totally got me into content creation. It really helped form my passion for online communities and social media as it came about. And I think there's something to be said about the power of online communities. So if you have an online community and you're banking on a Facebook group or, your Instagram page or whatever, like how can you diversify the home of that community so you're still reaping the benefits of the community that you built? And a lot of people have talked about Substack or Beehive for newsletters. People have talked about, there's a lot of community on YouTube. There's other like online paid communities. So consider that, and I think we all have different values. So if you're not bothered by the dumpster fire that is Facebook and, them removing some content moderation, I think that's fair. That's fair as well. If you're like, meh, I still do encourage you. I still do encourage you to deeply, deeply consider where you market your business. And I highly encourage you to seek out those in-person connections and also to grow your email list. I'm going to leave it there for now. We'll talk more about how to actually grow your email list in the coming months, coming weeks, months, whatever. But for now, like, as long as you're still creating online content, go forth, diversify your marketing, my friends. Stop leaving it up to billionaires to market your business because they don't care about you. And create amazing content that builds community and connection. Until next time, I would love to connect with you. Feel free to go to my website, HeidiJSchmidt.com, and subscribe to my newsletter. Connect with me on Instagram at Heidi Schmidt Creative. Like, subscribe, leave a review if you love the podcast. Reviews are how more people find us. And until next time, go forth, create amazing content that builds community and connection and stops the scroll. Bye for now.